Happy birthday to my middle child.
Fuck that kid, dude.
Fuck you.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Fuck. How do you take me from zero to twisted in 4 words?
Oh shit.
Happy birthday to my middle child, Aiden.
Happy birthday,
Charles.
Aiden. Charles. Charles.
He's the big 19.
Charles. That's my
No, he's not 19, he's 20.
That's my Magneto. Charles. Oh, don't use your brain powers on me, Charles.
I thought I'd get that in there because I don't shout out my kids too much, but I'm proud of that little ass scratcher.
Hey, did you see this? Metal monolith found in the deserts of Utah?
I passed by something about that. I didn't dive into it.
It's like the new Stonehenge. Some helicopter guy was flying over just this massive desert in Utah.
Weren't they like chasing elk or something, or trying to count bighorn sheep or something like that?
Yeah, it might have been sheep. I don't remember, but they were just flying over. They saw something shiny and landed, and it's this giant metal pillar just in the middle of the desert. Most people are assuming that it's aliens. I would say it probably is.
Oh my god!
No, it's probably just some fucking loser put that out there because
that's
they thought
every
it'd be funny.
time they discover something like that, like out in the middle of nowhere, or something that they've never seen before. They claim they've never seen before. I always think that it is someone that
It's trolling.
Someone's trolling.
Yeah.
Someone just put that out there. Someone just put this out there maybe a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, maybe 4 years ago, and was just waiting for somebody to trip over it. And then all of a sudden it's like it's this big, huge thing. And it's really not. I've seen that same like silvery type of rectangular box design that was found in the Utah desert. I've seen something similar to that being shipped on an episode of Shipping Wars from 7 years ago.
What is it? What's it for?
I don't know. It's just probably one of those stupid reflecting garden things. There's a whole lot of stupid shit people put out in their gardens.
It was massive, though. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
two men heights. I call shenanigans. I smell a rat.
To me, it's probably aliens, dude. There's no other explanation.
It's not aliens.
Just like Roswell, dude.
Yeah, I know.
Like Area 51, dude. It's all aliens, man. The pyramids.
Don't you think aliens would be a little bit more sophisticated than some shiny silver coffin upright in the desert behind a rock?
Nah, dude. It's a sign, bro. It's got a message in it. It says, whoever looks at this is ugly. And we all looked at it.
It's so stupid. Every time I see one of these stories come up, I automatically think that it's just somebody being dumb or somebody being silly.
Look within the metal monolith.
Now, I'm going to tell you
disappointment, and it's just reflective.
I'm going to tell you, back when I was in high school, long time ago, there used to be raves, and they would happen in secret locations, and you would never be able to know what the location was. But what you would know is where to start to find the location. And there would be like a glow stick or something that would be tied to a street lamp on a corner of something or something. And they would have several of these in a circle around the location on where the secret rave was. So if you went to one of the glow sticks, then it would refer you to another landmark or another location, and you would go there, and then that would send you to another location, and then eventually you would find the rave. And it was always in some like cow pasture in the middle of Laveen, Arizona. You know, someplace that it's easily going to take law enforcement, you know, a good 20 minutes just to get there. You just take M85 out as far as you could go sometimes to get to some of these raves. But it was basically a place where it was hidden, non-disclosed, no one, and this was way before the advent of social media and everything else like that. You know, social media wasn't a big thing. That's how old I am. So I'm thinking that maybe this thing that they found in the Utah desert is probably just a signal to get people to the rave. Or maybe that was where the rave took place, and that was the one piece that the hallucinating dickheads didn't take. Yeah, they're like, oh, that's too heavy. We'll just leave it here. And it was a rave from 1984.
I just feel like it's like some dude that's like, wouldn't it be funny if we just put this giant metal thing in the middle of the desert? So then when someone finds it, they're going to flip out. And they were totally right, because people are flipping out.
People are flipping out, but I think that in the year of 2020, we could find a fork sticking up under a rock and we'll be like, oh my God, somebody call King Arthur.
Anyway, start the show, huh?
5, 6, 7, 8.
What is up, boyos? This is the Jake and Cory podcast. I'm Jake. That's Cory. What is up, Cory?
Hey, Jake. I am here to let everybody know that not all black people have big peckers.
Oh, man.
I don't know what that means.
Hey, got a question for you. Have you ever watched porn?
Dude, that's all I watch.
Oh, me too, man. You know Ron Jeremy?
I don't watch Ron Jeremy, but I do know who you're talking about.
You know who he is. Yeah, I've never really watched Ron Jeremy myself because that's weird.
It's disgusting.
That man's looking at 305 years in prison right now.
That's about right. It's about a year per inch. Yeah, I understand that, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I just heard about this, and I'm like, wow. What a fucking shocker. I guess you have nothing to add to that, huh?
No, if you just look at him, he just screams creeper. You know what I mean? He just screams creep. And I'm not talking about just some, creepy person. I'm talking about like he seems like the one that will park his car outside your house, hide in your bushes for that one opportunity to see a nipple slip while you drop the towel before you step into the shower. He's the guy that will sit there and look through your frosted glass window that's on the side of your shower and sit there and treat himself like an amusement park to your shadow outline. He's that type of creep. So why is he facing 327 years in prison?
For basically exactly that.
Oh, well, yeah, I nailed it.
He nailed it. Sexual assault, rape of a minor. Yeah, just real fun. It's funny, dude.
Ever good looking? I mean, was he ever?
I don't know. I guess like in the 70s, I guess he was like skinnier, I guess.
I've looked at his vintage stuff. He's always been built like a Sicilian pizzeria owner. He looks been
like creepy Mario.
Yeah, he's never been that sex symbol that you want to see in an adult film. If it wasn't for his meat packing skills, he would have nothing to offer this world.
Yeah, this one's for the real ones out there. Yeah, he's no Johnny Sins.
That's right over my head.
He's no Xander Corvus. He's no Mandingo.
I don't know who any of those people are.
Trying to think of more male porn stars. He's no. That's
Jake
all I got.
Woods. He's no Jake Woods.
I was gonna say he's no James Dean, but a few years ago, James Dean got the same sort of sexual assault allegations against him, but he never went to court. Fucking yeah, dude. He looks like Mario. He's creepy. He's weird looking. I've watched a video just out of curiosity with him in it, and he has to like hold his dick up because he's just this creepy old man and like literally can't actually keep it up. So like he has to like hold it.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
When I'm watching the porn, I'm not there to learn people's names. I couldn't quote you one adult movie actor or actress. Ron Jeremy is probably about the only one that I know of. I've never taken the time to learn anyone else's name. And the only reason why I know Ron Jeremy is because he was on some reality TV show a few years back that I watched. And that's the only reason why I know who he is.
Yeah, there's been like a couple porn stars who have crossed into like the mainstream, you know? I'd say like Jenna Jameson is one where like people just like know who that is. Same with Ron Jeremy. He was like just this like pop culture phenomena, you know? Like he just showed up in like movies and shit. Dude, I saw this band once at Warped Tour in fucking Tucson, Arizona. Or no, Tempe, Arizona. And it was this fucking ska band, and fucking Ron Jeremy walks out on stage and he's like, "Ladies and gentlemen, Big D in the kids table." It's so weird. I'm like, that's fucking Ron Jeremy.
Yeah.
It's fucking Ron Jeremy. What is he doing here?
Jenna Jameson or whatever that name was that you said sounds familiar to me, but if you undressed her and undressed 5 other women and put them in front of me, I would not be able to pick one. I wouldn't be able to pick her out of the lineup.
I like to have my go-to porn stars just to get it in and done. You know, I'm like, these are the ones that work for me. So.
See, you go for the stars. I go for the action. I go for what they're doing. That's what I'm looking for. I go for what they're doing. I can care less who's doing it. This is what I look for. What they're doing and how good the video looks. If it's HD quality, high quality video and it's not overly edited, I've gone on record on this show and on Fat Guy Radio Show where I don't want the high end produced adult movies. I don't want those. I don't want the fake acting. I'll take the webcam crap at this point. If they're doing what I want to see in that moment and it's a good webcam, I'm all in. I don't need a crew of 50 guys sitting there. I don't need a sound man, a lighting technician, and a makeup artist to make the people look good. I don't care. I want to know what Susie Q up the street looks like. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for her amateur shit. It's not about who's in it. It's about what they're doing and does it look good. That's right.
I like to see on an actress's face that right before the scene begins, I'd like to see a little bit of like, is this the right decision I'm making right now? Man, we got deeper into porn than I was expecting to.
Well, you asked the question, I answered.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting that like Ron Jeremy is just fucking done for life. That man's gonna die in prison, which is great.
Well, hopefully he'll meet up with the Tiger King and they'll get along together very well, and we'll move on with our lives. We don't care. He's made enough money. He's made more money than Jesus at this point. And no matter how much success somebody has, a creep is a creep. So if he's found guilty, he's white, so he probably won't be. But if he's found guilty, c'est la vie.
True, that's true. We gotta wait for it to actually come out. I'm pretty sure he probably did it.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless he gets one of those judges that are sitting there under the bench, with a boner in his pants in his robe because he knows who Ron Jeremy is. He'll let him off as he gets off. Oh.
So did you hear about the Grammy debacle going on? Did you hear about the Grammys?
I scrolled across somebody the weekend and somebody else talking about how the Grammys aren't important anymore. I didn't invest any more time into it, but I saw it in passing.
Yeah, I have an interesting hot take on the Grammys, but like I guess
What were they
happened,
saying?
well, what happened is just like a bunch of people who probably deserved to be nominated for Grammys weren't, including The Weeknd, who had one of the like hottest tracks of the year. You know, Blinding Lights was massive this year. You know, like it was a big track. Not necessarily saying he should win, but maybe he could have. But he definitely should have been nominated. I think he was nominated for like one or two things, but like he wasn't nominated for like album of the year or whatever. And there's other people that weren't nominated, but of course like Taylor Swift is nominated and all your typical bullshit. Although Taylor Swift's album this year, Folklore, is really good album. But it's besides the point. But my thoughts on it though are just like, and people are like, you know, the Grammys don't matter anymore, and I'm just like, the Grammys never mattered, dude.
Yeah, it's just isn't it just a big old huge party for celebrities to get together and circle jerk each other?
Yeah, and they can't do that this year, so they're like actually upset about the awards. But
they
also
somehow
it's like
pulled it off for the AMAs.
It's one of those things though, because what's his name? Fucking TJ Miller, right? TJ Miller, he won an award at some award show, and he went up to accept it, and he goes up, and his acceptance speech was, I would say that awards are for children. And I'd say the real award is the love and adoration of my peers, because who cares about awards? They're meaningless. They're like these statues. And he's absolutely correct.
Yeah, he has a point.
Especially with music, I could make the argument that like the Oscars make somewhat of sense because like something like a movie, there is like some objective truths with movies where like you can objectively say something's bad, but even a movie is subjective, right? But
right.
music more than any other form of media is super subjective. You know, some people like rock, some people like metal, some people like R&B, some people like funk. And, you know, no one's music taste is the same. Also, I really like bad shit when it comes to music, you know? Like, I like Blink-182's first album, which just sounds like they recorded it on a dumpster. And, you know, like, I like that shit because it's music and it's not really meant to do anything. It's usually also not a group of thousands of people like a movie, right? Like a movie is usually a conglomerate thing where there's a million different people working on it. Typically with music, you have a couple songwriters, you have like the artists themselves and like a couple engineers, right? And that's like on a grand scale. That's like Bieber shit, you know? That's like Taylor Swift shit. And then you've got other shit where it's just like a band recorded it themselves, you know, in their fucking bedroom. You know, Billie Eilish is a great example where she just it's just her and her brother, and they just recorded in their bedroom.
Her and her brother boyfriend, yeah,
her brother boyfriend. But you know, like,
what's the one rocker that you and I are both fans of? The one that we always gush over, and we love him because of the great things that he does. The older guy,
Dave Grohl.
Dave Grohl.
Yeah,
Dave Grohl is like the same person. He doesn't go all the way out. Yeah, Jake showing his Dave Grohl tattoo or whatever the hell that was.
Foo Fighters. I've got a
Foo Fighters. I didn't see the other F.
Tattoo.
But Dave Grohl.
It's actually Friends Forever is actually the. Sorry, go ahead.
So Dave Grohl and the food flingers, they don't have that big old huge thing. They record their albums in someone's garage.
True, but I will say about Foo Fighters, and they've mentioned this themselves, where they're like the last rock band to like be part of those things. Just because rock is still around. Like I listen to rock music. I listen to everything though, but you know
I do too. I like rock music.
Yeah, but like, you know, I play rock music. I play R&B music and funk too, but what am I saying? But like rock music isn't like what it was in the 90s, you know? It's not the top. It's definitely not the top dog anymore. I'd say like rap,
Red Hot
R&B.
Chili Peppers isn't as hot as they used to be.
True. Yeah, they're the red cold chili peppers these days.
The red mild chili peppers.
But I would say on top of that, with the Grammys versus like something like the Oscars, where I still think the Oscars are irrelevant and who gives a fuck. But I'd say the Oscars are more fair just because, you know, how many movies come out a year, you know?
Yeah.
A few hundred, maybe?
Yeah. You would know better. You're the
1,000?
movie buff.
Maybe?
I don't know about thousands.
Yeah, well, that's like including like smaller films, right?
Oh, okay.
And then like big budget films, there's like 10. And then like, you know, smaller indie sort of studio films, there's probably a couple hundred. But music, there's got to be tens of thousands albums coming out every month. Like, just because anyone can record an album in their fucking bedroom these days. And
especially with the advent of the internet.
Yeah, and I would argue that music specifically, probably the best artists are the ones you don't know about, you know? So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
because everybody there are some really good artists that are not commercialized. You know, they're not mainstream. There are some amazing artists out there, and I mean, I have a friend who's one, Just James, and he's an amazing artist. He's an amazing songwriter, but he's not considered mainstream, and he should be, but he's not. He hasn't. I don't know if it's right to say he hasn't reached that level, but he's an amazing artist, and he's surrounded by amazing individuals that I feel musically and vocally could run circles around a lot of these commercialized artists.
Well, and that's the point too. It's not even just about musicianship when it comes to music. Just being a great musician doesn't mean you're gonna. And I'm not talking about Just James; he's amazing. But you know, just being a great musician doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna write the next banger. You could be like the worst musician ever, pick up a guitar and lay down a few chords and write the most moving piece of music of all time. I mean, even like Nirvana, you know, like the dude could barely play guitar, but wrote some of the best songs ever, because that's what music is. It's all about evoking emotion and shit, and it doesn't need to be crystal clear and pearly. It can be whatever. And yeah, the Grammys just have never really made sense to me. I'd love to win one day, but, but you know, I
want to know what's behind it though. After you win a Grammy, do you have access to people you've never had access to before? Can you now request or can you make demands that you weren't able to make before? Or is it the equivalent of being able to put the comma DO after your name when you get your doctorate degree in animatronics? Yeah. What comes with it? What's the benefit of being a Grammy winner? Why is it such a pursued achievement? What's behind it? What comes with it? What power does it have? Or is it just another metal piece of another metal statue that you can put in the background of your Zoom calls?
I think it used to be like really good publicity, right? Where it used to be like 5-time Grammy Award winner, you know, and like that used to be kind of prestigious. I would say nowadays it doesn't really mean dick, because like you say 5-time Grammy Award winner and it's like some person you've never heard of, and you're like, who cares?
But who's to say that behind these awards like the Grammys, who's to say there's not a political world that we're not aware of? Meaning that if you shake the hand of the member of the Grammy board or whatever of that nature, you get a Grammy.
No, there is that. I don't want to say too much. I've worked in recording studios, and I know of some people who have at least been nominated for Grammys just by shelling out the money. They just shell out money for a Grammy campaign and get nominated.
So it's like getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, I believe you just buy it.
Yeah, that's maybe true. I don't know.
So there's some politicizing behind it. So if there's politicizing behind it where you can shake the right hands and wink at the right people, or maybe kiss the right ass and you win the award, it means nothing.
Yeah, I also feel like Grammys maybe made more sense back in the like fucking, 50s, 60s, 70s, like it was harder to record an
celebrity
album.
meant something different in the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Absolutely.
Because you had to work hard for it. You can't be like Lil Nas X where you just happen to download a $25 track from some artist that you've never met before and put lyrics over it, and then all of a sudden you're the next biggest manufactured star.
Yeah, you fucking Christmas special with Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, and I mean he's the. I got a new classification for Lil Nas X, just as a little small digression. He's the modern day Elton John. He's really going above and beyond with and I'm talking about with the costumes and the flamboyancy and stuff.
You know
like
who I think modern day Elton John is? Just to push back a little, Lady Gaga. I think she's our Elton John.
I can see that too. But Lil Nas X is just going a little too far for me at this point. His artistry is starting to extend past his.
I love him. I think he's great.
I love his music. I love his personality, but he's just going too far. It's just a little too far-fetched for me at some point. But nevertheless, it's like back in the 60s, 70s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, it meant something to be part of Hollywood. It meant something to have a movie that was being recognized over all other movies because, Jake, from what you said before, we didn't have 100 blockbuster movies every year coming out back in those days. You were lucky if you landed a blockbuster movie. Everybody back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s were doing plays. And then if you landed a movie, that was huge. And then I think it would lead to you being able to have a bigger payday. It gave you a little bit more credence and recognizability in the industry if you were on that stage for a Grammy, you know what I mean? Or so I just think that it's just so, maybe the fact that it's just so easy to become a musician or an artist these days and release a track, that's what's watered it down. The whole industry is watered down.
Well, I think personally, and I think it has a lot to do with like streaming services and the internet. It's just easy as hell to get music now. And, I wouldn't say like these days, there isn't like your big artists. There isn't like your I don't know, Rolling Stones. There isn't like your Beatles. There isn't like your Elvis, because everyone has their own version of that when it comes to the music industry now because of the way streaming services is. It's like, for me, it's whoever, Hayley Williams or whatever. For someone else, it's Lil Nas X. For someone else, it's some artist I've never even heard of.
True.
And that wasn't the case back in the day. I personally think it's a great thing. It certainly devalues the use of the Grammys, but I think it's great because I think now everyone can find their own voice much easier now. Like everyone can find their own taste. Everyone can find their own niche, much easier than they could back in the day. And I think
to push back on that a little bit, I don't necessarily. I am an old man. I don't necessarily like the fact that everybody has a platform because it takes out the element of the pain, sweat, and tears. I know a handful of musicians and friends that uprooted their entire lives in cities that they grew up in, moved to a place like Nashville, and are really hammering it out. They're not just taking, I think it's the easy road when you just sit behind, dude, my aforementioned kid, Aiden, he has an app on his phone. He records music on it. He mixes it down and he posts it on SoundCloud and it gets 1,000 to 2,000 to 4,000 listens. So I think that it waters it down. I want time tested. When you look back and you look at the Aretha Franklins and you look at the Patti LaBelle's and you look at the Beatles and you look at a lot of these artists, you look at Dolly Parton, those people paid their dues. They had to get out and hustle their music to get in the eyes of the right people. Nowadays, it's a hashtag.
Well, okay. Let me push back I'm gonna push back even harder on you, boy.
Don't call me boy.
Sorry, Dad.
It's Poppy.
Push back even harder, Poppy. No, because here's the thing: music is art, and I know you're laughing.
You're such a hippie.
Maybe whatever. Kill me if you want. I will die on this hill because music is art, and if people can express their art easier, and people can find art that they relate to easier, there's no world where that's a bad thing. Sure, the pain, sweat, but that pain, sweat, tears, blood, all that good stuff, that still exists. And in fact, it's even harder to make money as like a professional artist. I'd say it's even harder though to make it as like an artist who makes a livable wage now, because there is such a increase in numbers. But what's different now is there aren't so many people making the millions at the top and no one's making money at the bottom. Instead, what it is, it's kind of balanced out a bit. People at the top make less, and the people at the bottom can potentially make money if they find their fan base. I think it's a good thing overall. I think it's overall a good thing. You have to have different revenue streams. You have to do different things. You really have to grind it out if you want to make a living as a musical artist these days. It's not so much as I just go to a studio now, record an album, have a big budget record label behind me, and make $1 gazillion because I've got the train behind me. That's not the case anymore. Now we've got people like Post Malone who didn't have a label. He posted it out there. He built his own audience from the ground up. Same with Billie Eilish. They built it from the ground up, and they did it themselves. They didn't need a big machine behind them. Fuck the machine, dude. The machine has been limiting for years. So I don't know. I think
on your point of it being a machine, I understand where you're coming from, but the music industry today is, you have those good artists that could be where they should be successful wise, but it's the music industry is now a Where's Waldo picture. You've got thousands and thousands and millions upon people trying to make it to that one person, and it's nearly impossible to find that one Where's Waldo. Everybody's not going to have that. I want to see the person that when they get to that, in order to get to that big corporate level, if you will, or to become that, I'm not a big fan of hers, but let's take Beyonce. Beyonce did not become who she is by the fact that she was just gimmicky and posted something online. She played shit locations. She got turned away. She fought her way through with her parents, and it was not handed to her. Little Nas X is a gimmick.
The only reason and he did it himself. And he's been able to market himself and stay relevant regardless, because it's so easy to have that one pop and then disappear forever nowadays. He's been able to continue to market himself as important. And Beyonce, great example. Yes, Beyonce worked her ass off. She has a great voice. You don't have a great voice if you don't work your ass off. That's just the way it is. Same with any sort of instrument. But she would have never made it if she wasn't in Destiny's Child, which was absolutely just a fucking studio put these people together and made $1 gazillion off of them. And oftentimes back then, especially, artists would make dick money while these big corporate studios made all the money, which still happens today, but it's definitely dying. And you see the big artists who make the money upset about it. Jay-Z specifically, who's like upset that he doesn't make all the money anymore. And it's
Mary
like, fuck
J.
you, dude.
Blige, Tony Braxton.
But it's like, fuck you, dude. The money's going back to us. Although Spotify's a piece of shit and doesn't pay people. But, you could go out, you can make all your money from your live shows, your merch, you could stream on the side. I know a lot of musicians who stream on the side now. You know, there's so many different ways to do it, and to me, it's always been about the artistry. Who cares about the money?
I think it's just so watered down that it's
always been the case, though, Corey. It's always
the industry
been the case.
is so, and you're more in closer to the music industry than I am. I could speak for radio industry all day long, but for me, it just seems like it's the Where's Waldo, where the world is often just searching, through this cacophony of mimics and gimmicks of the same thing over and over. And when you find that one Waldo, then you kind of hit the jackpot. I understand what you're saying too, and I agree with you, but overall, I think, and this all ties back to what you were saying to begin with, the awards, they really are meaningless because the industry is so watered down. And when you water something down, you lose its flavor.
Yeah, I don't know.
You lose its potency, in my opinion.
I think there's just a big melting pot of flavor now. Everyone can find their own flavor. That sounds like a
disaster. You can't have a melting pot of flavor, Jake. That sounds like, what are you going to do when someone comes up with a flavor of sushi and lemongrass? You're done.
Sounds
That's
good
a cacophony of that sounds good. It's a cacophony of disaster. But I agree with what you're saying now. I honestly do see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I think there were definitely perks to the old system and the way things worked. But I think ultimately we're bringing it back to what it was, or to what it's meant to be. Because, that whole system of music and the industry and all that shit didn't even really come into being until, early 1900s anyway. Before that, what music really was just, well, besides like Mozart and shit, what music really was just some dude on the corner busking, and it wasn't about making a ton of money. It was just, I love music, man, and I will play it for you. And that's what music should be, in my opinion. And
I don't think that the music industry is going back to what it used to be. If that's the case, then there would be very few African Americans in the industry. But I believe what's happening is that it might be correcting itself. I mean, Hollywood overall might be correcting itself. With so much of, because
Hollywood's having
so
a hard
broken.
time keeping up. I think Hollywood is having a hard time keeping up because what it is just people have taken the power into their own hands, which is great.
I mean, our cell phones make movies now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And that's great. That's great. If you want to make a movie, that's great.
I guess.
I love the idea that someone can post their art onto YouTube and they can find an audience for that. And they put their blood, sweat, and tears into this project by themselves. No support. They did it themselves. That's what made Kevin Smith so great back in the day. He made Clerks by himself. He put all of his money onto this fucking film, and that's what made him so great. And now, the way things are, it just makes it easier for more Kevin Smiths to exist. Which,
where's our audience?
Debatable,
Jake?
But
where's our audience?
That's the other problem, though, because there are so many people doing it. It does become a bit of an
oversaturation. It's the Where's Waldo.
I guess.
Where's Waldo?
You win some, you lose some. I don't know.
That's very true. I see. Can we switch gears for here? Is that okay if we switch gears?
Yeah, let me get my wrench out.
Oh, yeah. We switched gears too far.
Yeah.
My grandma Blaze once told me, baby, when things don't go your way, how you react to them not going your way is who you really are. The current administration.
Here we go.
To steal the words of a late night talk show host that I can't remember who said it, Rump has two, emotions: angry and look at me, or angry because you're not looking at me. This dude has gone somewhat into hiding, even though a few days ago he did come out and yell at the media.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
But I'm going in on this dude right now like I don't think I've ever gone in, so just give me a moment because I've been sitting on this for a few days.
Yeah, please.
This dude's a coward. He's a coward. He has finally, reluctantly, realized he's lost the election and has literally just walked off the job. Think about this, folks. People are still contracting the coronavirus, still dying in numbers that we didn't even see when the coronavirus first happened. And this son of a bitch is on the golf course. He has become the equivalent of the potted plant. We know it's there, but it serves no purpose other than to fill space. Even his own base at this point is starting to lose steam because they see the writing on the wall and he's walked off the job. He's not even in front of them anymore. He's not even tweeting as much as he is anymore. So, because he lost the election, has he not realized he has 2 more months of work? The country is still operating. The country is still here. But I say that to point to the fact that this is who he really is. He's shown his true colors. Like my grandma Blaze said, when something didn't go his way, how you react is exactly who you are. In this moment, Rump is showing the world who he has been the entire time. He's pouting. He's golfing while he still has a few months left. And he's not doing anything. He was sitting on a conference call with world leaders discussing the coronavirus. He arrived late and he left early. He had to say what he had to say and then he bounced. There is talk about him pardoning himself from what New York is going to do for his ass as soon as he becomes a regular citizen, which he can legally do. He can legally pardon himself. But that also points to the fact that this whole thing has been about himself. It was never about the American people. This was about Rump the entire time. Everyone part of the Republican Party that has also gone silent with their complacency with this administration's actions in the last few weeks since the election deserves to lose their jobs as well. I'm rooting for Georgia's runoff election next month. I'm rooting for them because people need to be out of work for sitting back and allowing this big baby to act the way that he's act and being afraid to call him to the carpet. They have stayed silent. Parts of the Republican Party, they have stayed silent, waiting for the master to give his command, and the master has left his post. It was never, ever about the American people. After each presidency, Jake, I ask myself one question. How has this presidency changed my life? And I will answer that here on this show. This presidency has changed my life. I am more fearful about wearing my skin in America. I am more alone from the political divide exasperated by this administration's causing friendships to be severed. I've lost believability and faith in our Constitution. My neck hurts from looking over my shoulder at my neighbor. My trust in a government to protect children of all nations is destroyed. I feel abandoned. And most importantly, I am concerned that this type of presidency will become a habit of future presidents. And the chains of this habit were too light to be felt until they became too heavy to be broken. This presidency has changed my life, and it ain't for the better. And if you think once January 20th hits, it's all over, you're dead wrong. The United States and the world is still living in the effects of the Roosevelt administration of 1933. Rump's administration has left its mark on the world, and it's the ugliest black eye we will feel for years and decades to come. My God, may God have mercy on this country and this great blue ball. The Biden-Harris administration is not coming in behind the 8 ball of this administration. They're coming in behind a wrecking ball that has been abandoned by its operator. This dude has walked away from us. He has abandoned this country. And people are refusing to see it. Because you lost, you still have a motherfucking job to do. You still, in whatever capacity you can, you still need to steer this ship. What punk ass captain of any ship is the first one off when the ship starts to go down? Even the captain of the Titanic stayed until that bitch went down. This man is a coward. And he has shown himself in just these past few weeks since the election. He's a coward. And he should honestly, I hope New York takes him and puts him under the jail. I know it'll never happen. He'll buy his way out. The little small base that he's still clinging on to. But this is what he has truly been his entire presidency. When things don't go your way, how you react is who you really are. And this dude is a coward. A yellow belly motherfucking coward. And I'm done. Thank you.
Beautifully put.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have the same sort of fear that like Joe Biden would pardon him because it just seems like the right thing for a president to pardon a president. I hope he doesn't though, because honestly, like when Trump is done, they're gonna come after him.
He can pardon himself. Other presidents have.
He can't pardon himself when he's not president.
He can pardon himself for a charge yet to come through. Yes, he can. It's been done in history. Presidents have pardoned themselves from certain charges that weren't going to hit until after they were out of office.
Never heard of this.
I'll have to do some more research, but it has happened in history. Not very often, but it has happened.
I'm trying to stay optimistic. I think you're right. A lot of people are feeling a little disillusioned by our government, not feeling protected by our government, realizing how easy it is for our government to flip on a dime. And, but I want to stay somewhat optimistic, I guess. We do have a new president coming in. I'm not a huge fan of his, but I will say I'm hoping what this really is for our government, our country, and our world is a turning point, a end of a chapter, so to speak. I hope that this is maybe a wake-up call for a lot of people. I think a lot of people who were Trump supporters just a month, 2 months ago are no longer Trump supporters. I think a lot of people were saying that what he was doing is wrong, and they were ignorant to believe it, and just saying we're making stuff up. And I think now it's pretty easy to see that everything we were saying about him attempting a coup, about him not caring about the American public, about him trying to turn this into a fascist country with a dictator, was true. And I think a lot of people who are on his side maybe are not on his side and maybe willing to listen a little bit more, hopefully. So I don't know. I'm trying to have that sort of optimistic outlook. There are the few loonies who are still saying it's a fraud. I know a couple of those people. I think I've said it on multiple shows. I think with time, time heals all wounds, right? I think with time we will see that Trump is not remembered as a good president. But I like to think that this is maybe a turning point for the country to make more radical change, because what happened specifically in the Obama administration, which, we did have some change. There was, we had, gay marriage is a huge thing that at the start of his presidency, that was illegal and is now fully legal. So, we had some changes like that during the Obama administration, but Obama wanted some more radical changes that wouldn't happen. And he knew that, and he had to kind of bend at the knee of the government a bit and kind of meet people in the middle, so to speak. I'm just hoping that after this presidency, seeing how bad it is on that other side and how easy it is for that side, because it's easier for that side. It is. It's just easier for that side to gain power. Trump didn't win the primary vote, like the popular vote, the first time. Bush didn't win the popular vote the first time. So that alone, it's easier for that side to gain power. And I think maybe the middle will be in a different place now. You know what I mean? Like, instead of meeting in the middle, where the middle is actually very far right, because we have to meet in the middle, which is actually, because people are so far right on this side, the left has to come even further to the right to meet in the middle. I'm hoping that maybe the middle is moved a bit to the other side, and we can have some more agreements now, because we've seen what happened. And maybe
the middle becomes the true middle?
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe, yeah. Who knows? Maybe we take more progressive actions. Universal health care.
I agree with you.
All these things. I'm hoping that this was a wake-up call for the Americans who have felt disillusioned and felt like this side was for them. And now they see, no, that's maybe not the case. So.
I share in your optimism when it comes to the parties. This whole thing, though, has literally been more about Trump and the parties, almost to the point where it wasn't just it was never Republicans versus Democrats. It was Trump versus Democrats and other parties and places. My whole rant was on how this dude, the person of who he is, how he has abandoned this country because he lost.
Yeah.
And he knows it. That's what's sad and alarming. And the Obamas have come out and said they weren't very happy to turn the White House over to them, but they did it for the betterment of this country. They did it so that there wouldn't be any strife. Just a week ago, Biden finally got permission to start his transition. Weeks after the election?
Yeah.
This dude is off the rails. This dude has damaged this country, and it is going to take the next 4 or 5 administrations to get it back on track. I may not live to see it, but this shit's crazy. You don't walk off the job just because you lost. You still have a fucking job to do. That is the equivalent of the kid playing the game, losing the game, taking his ball, not even taking his ball, but just going home. It's sloppy. It's sad. What a pathetic example. And if people don't see that, Jake, we'll never be able to realize your optimism. If not enough people don't see this.
I think people do see it, though. I think, and maybe silently even right now.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are in shock. A lot of people are maybe in a bit of denial. But I think give it some time, and I think there is a light at the end of this tunnel. I hope, because now we've taken care of Trump, and we've exposed what's happened is really we've exposed the Republican Party for what they are. A bunch of
But is it the
cowards.
Republican Party, or is it the fact that the Republican Party happened to be a party that was okay, but they just let one bad apple in, and that bad apple spoiled the entire bunch?
Well, that's the thing. If you allow that one apple to spoil too many cooks spoils the broth or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it exposed the Republican Party. I think it did. There were a few Republicans that stood against him, but for the most part, most Republicans stood with him just because they're on his side. And, label-wise. And I'm not a huge fan of the Democratic Party. Don't get me wrong.
Neither am
but
I.
I don't think we would have seen a Trump on the Democratic Party because his actions are the antithesis of progress and progressivism. Progressivism?
That works for me. It just sucks that we even allowed our both parties, even the Green Party, the Independents. It just sucks that we allowed ourselves to get to this point. It's just really bad. What were we grasping for 4 years ago, man? What were we hoping for 4 years ago?
Well, I didn't vote for him, so.
I didn't either, but what were people hoping for?
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people in, the middle America are feeling a bit disenfranchised for, the world is progressing without them. It is. And, we have to keep in perspective that exists. But, the world progresses and it just needs to, and you need to find a way to jump on in and get on the train with us. There's so much to be said about Trump, but like at this point he's on his way out and he's pretty much admitted it. He won't actively but
this country still is going to run for the next 2 months before he finally packs it in. And we know what? You cannot this ship is too big to be without a captain right now. No matter how bad of a captain and how horrible of a captain he is, having nobody at the helm right now is dangerous and makes us vulnerable to other countries and other regions that want to see us even worse off than we are now. Yeah, that's what's dangerous.
That's true. What I'd really hope, and this isn't gonna happen, but I fucking hope this would happen, is maybe we take some of the power away from the president. The president has way too much power. Most other countries, democratic countries like ours, have two heads. We got the head of state, and we've got someone else. I forget.
Yeah.
You got your prime ministers, and you've got your other dude. And both equally important, but do different things. But our country combined those jobs into one thing. Our guy is the commander-in-chief, but he's also the head of state. It's that's dangerous. And not only that, when we created the presidency, I say we, I wasn't there.
You look good if you were there.
Yeah, I'm a vampire. But when this country created the presidency, it wasn't, the whole point of it was to not be that important, and we change out. But over the course of the last 4 or 5 presidencies, we've added, and even early 1900s, we've added CIA, FBI, judges, different people that and the people who appoint the heads of these divisions are the president. That wasn't the case back in the day. Now it's just like the president elects, or the president selects anyone. And also our country is so bipartisan that we have these fail-safes, but basically the president can veto anything he wants because his side is always going to back him. So It's almost impossible to, if the president doesn't want it, it's not going through. That's just the way it is in this country. And hopefully we can realize that, and we can maybe look into that, see how we fix that. I doubt that's going to happen because how do you do that when the president has so much
always figured the presidency was more of a figurehead, but in the last 4 years, it's just been more prevalent on how much power is actually in that seat.
No. Our president
it's dangerous.
Is way, way too powerful. Way too powerful.
It's closer to a dictator. It's really teeters on the land of dictatorship.
It's a king that we elect. It's a king that we pick, and the only thing that saves us from it becoming a full monarchy full dictatorship is the fact that you only have 4 to 8 years to get stuff done, which, you know, has worked out relatively well for us. God, imagine if that wasn't the case for Trump.
Dude, imagine if we have 4 more years of this, dude. Could you imagine the gloating if he would have won re-election? Could you, dude? I don't even want to wrap my mind around that. I don't even want to think about that. That's morbidly insane. Morbidly insane. Can I bring up one more thing before we go?
Please.
TV. I'll say it. I will say it, people. The Conners on ABC. The remake of the Roseanne show. Look, I love Katie Sagal, but I will never accept John Goodman's character, Dan Connor, being with anyone else other than Roseanne. If Roseanne's character is dead, then he should be a widower until he dies. I cannot mentally accept him being with anyone else. Sorry, Katie Sagal. I love you to death. You are amazing. You are Peg Bundy until I die.
Leela.
But when I see when they add Katie Sagal's name into the opening credits, I will then know it is over. I will stop watching the show and I will move on. I refuse to accept it. You are putting Katie Sagal and John Goodman's characters together. You are trying to rewrite my childhood. I'm sorry. Dan Connor is married for life to Roseanne Connor. I will not see any way else around that. That show needs to find some way to write Roseanne back into it. How it's lasted this long as the Connors is unfounded. It sucks as a TV show. But this is Roseanne's show. No matter what you title it, it is Roseanne. You cannot have a Connor without Roseanne.
They could have actually made it very interesting with Dan, like, actively, you know, being a widow, but learning to accept it. And he's also at the age where it's like, he doesn't need to be with anyone, you know. He's at the age where it's like totally cool for you to just
retire, sit back, and let all the kids take care of you. That's how you could have wrote it. You didn't have to write it. Or Katie Sagal's character could have been a guest role, where maybe Dan was kind of winking, but then yet he realized his heart is still for Roseanne. Roseanne will still forever. Or maybe I figured out how they write Roseanne back into the Connors.
Yeah.
They do it like they did when Roseanne first rebooted and came back. It's Dan and Roseanne in the bed. Dan wakes up. He looks over. He sees Roseanne there. And the first line is, "I thought you were dead."
Well, they're not going to bring Roseanne back, dude.
No, they're not. Because Roseanne, the actress kind of shot herself in the foot, which I thought was kind of stupid. But I can't. Every time I watch this show, Jake, I cannot see Dan Connor, the character, in a relationship or having a love interest with anyone else other than Roseanne. It's unholy. It's not natural.
I also feel like, you know, and not to disparage Roseanne or anything. I love the original Roseanne. I think it's one of the only shows to really show what it's like.
I watch it every night on Amazon Prime, every night.
It's one of the only shows to really depict what it's like to live in a lower class family, but keep it fun in a sitcom, you know?
Oh, it's great. It's amazing. Everybody that grew up in that time can relate to one of those characters.
Because before that, you know, before Roseanne, we had what did we have? You know, like
The Cosby Show.
Show. You know, Cosby's a fucking doctor and he makes like millions of dollars.
His wife's a lawyer. They live in $1 million brownstone. We had Charles in Charge.
Yeah. Three's Company, I guess, is them living in an apartment, but, you know, whatever. But like Golden Girls.
It wasn't an apartment. Was it an apartment or was it more of like a beachside condo? Come on.
Yeah, it's just like
California.
It's all, or like Friends, which I know was after Roseanne, but like or about the same time. But you know, it's always like these people are like rich. They live in like high rise.
Designing women
in New York.
That was a TV show, Designing Women, and they never designed one damn thing, but yet they worked in this lavish, big old, huge, open-aired loft office area. Come on.
Yeah, I remember Roseanne, and there were like literally storylines where it's like, we can't really afford a nice dinner. You know, like That
Right.
was some storylines.
They had to eat out on coupons.
Yeah. Like, and that's great. But what I will say about John Goodman is I almost feel like he's above doing like a sitcom. He's such a great actor.
He's becoming amazing. After Roseanne ended, he has really his career was on an up trajectory. He's made some of the most amazing movies, and I agree with you. I think he's above sitcom play, but when you look at him, and his star is even bigger now. He's doing fucking app commercials, which is really weird to see John Goodman's head on someone's finger. But
I saw that today. I freaked out a little.
Yeah, it's a little weird because he's like 400 years old, you know? But
yeah, he is.
I think he's above that. It'd be kind of like Bette Midler going and doing a Disney sitcom. It just doesn't. You're above it at some point. But he will forever be Dan Connor. He just will be, and that's just the way that you look at him. The one person that I believe, or the two people that I believe have totally outgrown their characters, is Darlene and Becky. I think Leslie Gorison and Sarah Gilbert have totally outgrown those two characters, and it's not believable anymore. Darlene's character now just seems like an anal retentive bitch, and Becky's character now just seems like she is an airhead that can't move her eyebrows.
I haven't watched it, so I don't even know.
And you're better for it, because it's a horrible, but it's like a train wreck to me. I can't look away.
It's a train wreck, much like this outro is gonna be.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you check out the Loner Gamecast every Monday. This show is posted reverse that. This show is posted every Monday. Loner Gamecast is posted every Tuesday.
Reverse.
Me and Nick from the Loner Gamecast, we just posted a video of our favorite games of the generation, our top 10 games of the generation. We had a lot of fun doing it. Go check it out. Also, check out the Romcom show, or don't, whatever. It's up to you. I don't give a shit. Press the like button, or don't. I don't give a shit. Do whatever you want.
Oh, way to sell it, Jake.
Bye-bye.
Bye. 5, 6, 4, 9, 7, 3, 2, 1.